And my name's Evan. And so I've known Benjamin for, well, my whole life. And we started off as roommates, and then we parted ways when I was about 5, and he cried. And then we were roommates again in college for a brief period of time before he left me for Brett, and I cried. But Kate, I want to tell you a few things about Benjamin that you should know. Well, just to put some things about him in perspective. So one is he's a wheeler dealer. What I mean by that is that growing up, he had a way of turning everything into a good deal for him, not necessarily a good deal for me. So he would collect coins, and he would actually go. He would get a roll of quarters, and he'd go to the bank, he'd turn the quarters in, and he'd get a new roll of quarters, and go through and find any cool ones, like whether they were state quarters or bicentennial quarters or whatever, and then he'd put in the regular ones and trade them back out. And occasionally he would take some and put them in those little coin squares and write "brilliant uncirculated" on it, and then sell it to me for 75 cents. I still have several of those. He one time had one of those big 3-button mouse, like computer mice, and he sold it to me for $1, saying that it would make a good gun. I didn't have the $1, so he said he would loan me money and then charge me 10 cents interest every day. And I bought it. But the good thing about that is that Benjamin's an entrepreneur. He very much likes to see opportunities to grow and develop things, and so whether that was a coin business he started with one of his friends in elementary school, or selling cheap stuff, knockoff stuff to his brothers. He's always been just a good eye for that. Another thing is Benjamin is part of that I would like to say is also he's very volunteeristic. So growing up from like the age of like 10, 9, he volunteered at the local library. First it was to pay off fines for dropping books in the bathtub, but then later it became a more steady thing, and they loved him. And then he started working at a computer place also for free. So he'll be a great worker. He might not get paid, but he's a great volunteer.
Seriously.
Something else that but what that means is that he can be a very caring and providing person. So that's something to look forward to. Something else about Benjamin is that he's a pack rat. Something that I'm sure DJ has come
I meant to mention that.
So you need to watch out for that in your new apartment. But I remember in his room, he used to convert his room into sort of a museum of miscellaneous oddities. And you couldn't see the wall. He had so much stuff tacked on it. It got to the point where Mom and Dad told him that he could do whatever he wanted in his room, but if he bled out into the main house, it was getting thrown away. But I think that showed something about Benjamin that's a little bit unique, is that he sees value in things that other people don't recognize. And then he goes after them. And whether that's signing up with like 5 or 6 different pseudonyms for free perfume, mail-in perfume and things, I don't know why, but he'd do it. I think partly to sell it to me. And that actually, the reason I would fall for it is because he's always a leader. And so growing up, he was always the first person. He's the first of us to get a computer, the first of us to burn a CD. I think I still have the first CD he burned for me. Basically anything he did, Nathan and I wanted to do. So that meant that when we were young, he was the one that encouraged us to make prank phone calls into a television show that was locally hosted called Family Gordon. And we would call in and ask for pizza. His best friend at the time was the father of his best friend was one of the guys on the show, so they knew it was us, and they kept answering.
Blocking our number.
And they blocked our number. He was the one that would lead us all over the hill dressed in camouflage, holding fake guns, and he was the one that shoved a stick down in the base of a tree and let loose like 100 yellow jackets that chased us all the way up the hill. And Benjamin was also the one that led us to scale, or well, we may or may not have scaled the incline railway. May or not have. But I think that illustrates that Benjamin loves adventure, he loves fun, he'll want to take you in a helicopter with no doors. So you know all about that, but that's something that I think will always keep your relationship really enjoyable, is Benjamin's desire for the unusual and the fun. But I think most importantly is Benjamin feels very deeply and he makes great connections with people. But he also loves God a lot. So much so that I think he had like a dozen conversion experiences as a child. But I'm fairly confident that the last one stuck. So I hope you all join me in raising a glass to what I think will be a wonderful couple for years and years.